Good afternoon, everyone. This is Trader Tim from eminimine.com. Today is the 28th of March, 2019, doing a trade recap video for the last couple of days. You can see here as we start on the E-mini S&P, on the daily chart, we are smack dab in between two 50% retracements. And I alluded to this a little bit in the trading room on Tuesday, but we've got a low to high drawn at 27.9650s. That's its 50%. And then we have a high to low, and that's a 27.75s. And you can see how we've kind of touched the long a couple of times, touched the short a couple of times. Yesterday we actually touched the long and the short in the same day. And these periods, whether it's a daily chart or an intraday chart, they can be a little bit challenging at times, and they can give a lot of mixed signals. I felt like the last couple of days actually have been fairly decent, at least with the signals they've been giving. And so I wanted to walk through a couple of my trades from the last couple of days. If we go to a 30-minute chart, you can see the lower highs and the higher lows that have been putting in at the same time over the last 3 days. And this is kind of a triangle formation, not very unexpected in this kind of a situation. And what had been working really, coming into today, both Monday and Wednesday, and even a little bit on Tuesday, shorting at highs and buying at lows had been the pattern that had been working throughout the week. So that's kind of what I came into today thinking. It's an inside day, meaning that we opened up and then we came down and filled the gap, but we did not break above or below yesterday's higher low. And typically that leads to myself being a little bit more conservative and being cautious with trades in the middle of the range, as you hear me say a lot. So today I focused, really in the top of the range, and I wanted to walk through today. But first, we'll start with yesterday. I've got a lot of drawings in my chart, but I just left up the trades so that we can walk through them. So let's start with yesterday, Wednesday. After opening up, you can see on my right chart, the tick chart, I've got the high and the low of the first 30 minutes marked, and that helps give me a reference. And right off the bat, this was like 5 minutes into the day, we had a short setup from highs. That one traded nicely, got some follow through and traded down beyond its negative 23% target. Then we made a deeper or a bigger bounce, and we traded up at its 50% retracement, and that took us to about the 15-minute mark. And so seeing that we had two shorts working, both the short from highs and the full halfway back, both going to their targets, that gave me the confidence to take the next short, which I did here at 25 and a quarter. I'm sorry, 25.50 was that short. And that one went down to the negative 23% target, but it didn't, before going lower, it did rally, and I had trailed my stop by drawing up the next retracement. So I've got the high to low drawn, and then we rally, I get filled at the 50%. So just by taking that 50% down to target, that gives me a 61.8 of 24.66, so I just round up to 25, and that's where I put my trail stop. So taking a little bit off at the negative 23, and then trailing the rest of the position at 25. So that helps lock in profit on the way down, and if you do get a spike like this, then you get out with a little winning trade instead of having it come all the way back and stop you out for a full stop out. Now this next short, drawing from highs all the way from the morning's highs to lows, it pierced its 61.8 by just a touch, but then it got a real hard sell-off, and there wasn't really an opportunity to short. Didn't get any kind of pullback on that move down. So at that point, we were at the top of the hour, so 30 minutes into the day, and we were at the negative, not just the negative 23% target, but we traded all the way down to the negative 61.8. And a lot of times, you can draw up the next retracement, so using that entry down to lows, and when we're at a target, It's a good opportunity since the trend was down and the target is from a short, meaning that the negative 23% target is down here. That's the target from a short trade that traded up here. It's okay to take long setups into the next short trade. And what can happen is, you get in a long trade and then it doesn't stop at the short, and then you're already in a long and you can ride that beyond, where the short setup is. So anytime we're at, in this case, the bottom of the first 30-minute range, we broke through just by a couple of ticks and then broke back into it. We pierced and broke the prior swing high. I made sure that we didn't have any, we broke the 61.8 of the next smaller retracement. We didn't stop at the next larger short. And so by just drawing up from lows to highs here, I use that as my entry at 1975. And there was a little long back here on this high, but it didn't fill. So I just adjusted my anchor point up, and then this is one of those trades where came down, I got filled, it came down, I took 5 ticks of heat, basically 1 tick away from my stop, and then she got going. So it's important to be patient at the start of your trades, not let the you don't want to be micromanaging your stop, and just anything can happen. And if you remember that, there's a lot of times where I'll have a trade go 4 or 5 ticks against me before it goes in my favor. So this one, after dipping below the 61.8, we rallied to the negative 23% target, took a little bit off up at 21.75s, and then because we broke the 61.8 down here, I just trailed my stop on the full. There wasn't really anything to do because we came 5 ticks away from this swing low. But once we pulled back and bounced here, we got this little double top. I brought my stop up underneath this swing low, which happened to be right about the 61.8. And then from there, we broke through that short. So that was good. And I'm thinking, okay, we're at the bottom of the first 30-minute range. What do we usually do? We rally and head back up to the top. And we didn't quite get there, but it was a good opportunity. We had some nice swing lows to be able to just trail on the way up. And I ended up having my stop here, and I got taken out over here. So nice, little long after a rally off lows. And then if I zoom out a little bit, we actually failed. This is where it got a little bit messy. We broke the 61.8 of the next short, and we were kind of right in the middle of the range. And then we broke, the 61.8 of the long, and by that point, there wasn't really an entry into the short, and I try to stay out of the middle of the range. So, we were getting a little bit late into the morning, so I just called it there. And we did end up going a little bit lower, even coming down here, trying to get a short. It came, right up and would have tagged your entry, but wouldn't have gotten a fill. So, caught, bulk of the move on the way up, and then shut it down for the day. And I'm going to clean up these lines, and then we'll move over to today. So today we opened up. It was an inside day, which you always want to be a little bit careful of. We established the range pretty quickly, kind of ripping up and then ripping down all in 4 or 5 minutes or so. I drew up a short. That was the high to low, and this is all in the first 15 minutes just to get some reference points. We held the 61.8 for a period, sold off a little bit, couldn't make it down to the negative 23% target, and then we failed that 61.8. So the short had failed, so then I turned around, I drew the long, and that actually held its 61.8, and we worked our way up to its negative 23% target. I didn't take this long here because we were so dirty on this one, meaning we came in almost to a failure point. I just didn't really have the confidence to take that one there. It was kind of at the bottom of the congestion area. But that's neither here nor there. Once we hit the negative 23% target, I drew up the next long. And just like on Wednesday, taking a long into a short, today, I looked at this short at highs as a way to take us down into the long. So we broke the swing low back here. So I just drew from highs to lows. We rallied. I used a 2150, and that one got to the negative 23% target, and that was it. So just a small little move. Didn't really get the follow through that I would like to see, but that's okay. You get your first target hit, you reduce your risk on the trade, you come away with either a scratch or a small winner, and it's no big deal. And so at that point, notice where we're at. This horizontal line is the top of the first 30-minute range. So if we can't break into the first 30-minute range, I'm expecting us to rally and in that top of the first 30-minute range to be support. So because this 50% long below us was pretty close, and we broke this swing high right over here. This high is higher than the previous one. I drew up the long from lows to highs. Come on. Like that. And ended up taking a stop out on this one. It dipped through, ended up going to the negative 23% target, but stopped me out before that happened. So we were one winner short, one loser on the long. And then we got the double top. So we had this double top, and at that point, I actually got rid of this next drawing, and I just came in here and drew up this swing low to high to give me the sort of the next retracement. And I actually, a double top at highs, breaking the swing low, coming down. This one, you see we came down into the first 30-minute range. Normally I'd be a little bit more conservative, but the double top is a solid entry, and a double top at highs at the top of the first 30-minute range is a super solid entry. So I went ahead and took this short at 21.25, and this was another one. We traded up to 22.5, which was one tick away from my stop, and then started moving. And then this time we did finally go from the top of the range down to the bottom. I ended up having my stop right about, I drew up the retracement here, and my stop was just above at 1250s. Got taken out right here. We ended up going a little bit higher, so even if I had my stop above the swing high, would have taken me out. But on the way down, it was just a matter of trailing the next retracement, like so, keeping my stop above this swing high. And then as we moved down quicker, I just trailed the swing high here. You could have also used the 61.8. And then we dropped further. I used this swing high up here. And then we started to kind of show some red bar, green bar. So as we got lower in here, I just drew up that retracement like so and used the 61.8 as my stop. So, you try a couple of times, and the idea of having that first target or that negative 23% target is so you can reduce your risk on the trade so that you can be comfortable hanging on to more contracts that you can then trail and pick up a 7 or 8 pointer. So that was my day today. At that point, we were kind of getting late in the morning and kind of going into the lunchtime session. We ended up going a little bit lower, but catching the meat of the move is always what you're looking to do, not getting the exact high and the exact low. But that double top breakdown pattern is super solid. Same thing at lows, double bottom to move higher. Now, I guess I should mention I didn't like the long down here. Like you can say, well, we're at the bottom of the first 30-minute range. Why not draw up a long setup? The late morning going into lunchtime, New York time zone, can be a little bit fickle, and some funny things can happen at that time. So I try to stay away from, that 2.5 hour mark, 3 hours into the morning, kind of the late morning into lunch. So I just chose to close out or shut down basically for the day after the short trade. So that was my day today and yesterday. If you have any questions, I'm always happy to chat more. And I would expect that as we go further into tomorrow, Friday, but then next week, once we break the 61/8 of either the long or the short, there will be some nice resolve, and that might happen in the form of a big body candle. But as long as we're within these 250s, try and I'm going to be treading a little bit lighter. Out of the 2 days, I only had 5 trades, but it's helpful to be diligent and very focused with your trading, especially when we're in these kind of stuck between 250s. So I hope everyone has a great weekend. You can find more about eMiniMind, my trading strategies, and the trading room just over at eminimind.com. Thanks, everyone. Have a great weekend.